Oh, what's up, guys? It's Leroy Jenkins here for another video, a story time video. And guys, you already know that every single day I go riding my bike in search of law enforcement vehicles. And whether it takes me 1 hour or 6 hours of just riding around trying to find vehicles, I find one eventually, or some days I'm not so lucky and I basically just ride around all for nothing. But guys, today is the day that I tell you, it literally happened to me just a couple hours ago, where I'm going to be showing you guys a picture, right? There's going to be 2 Explorers I'm going to be putting out later today, because I took that literally tonight. It's like 10 o'clock at night. I came back. I'm like, oh my God, this is so great. I'm feeling so hyped because of how nice that lady was. And so basically, if you're new, click the subscribe button. If you want to see all these emergency vehicle posts that I'm posting out, click that button, dude. It's free. It's easy. And it's fantastic. You know, a lot of you guys have been watching that aren't subscribed, and it's really hurting my feelings. So hit the subscribe button. But anyway, once again, 2 Explorers are going to be coming out later today. And let's get into this little driving thing right here. Let's get into our good old-fashioned Tahoe. You know, I was talking about I'm going to be posting pictures of this Explorer, but let's actually go over to the Tahoe in honor of the super, super nice lady who was the person that was like super nice, the super nice deputy. Because, man, she was a supervisor. I can tell you that. I don't remember whether she had 1 arrow stripe thing or 2 arrow stripe things, but she did drive around in an LASD Tahoe, baby. And I did not, I'm not going to say unfortunately did not, but I did not get a picture of that big, beefy Tahoe that she was driving, because I think I already have a picture of it, because of how late I came there, she was like on a different shift. So like, oh my goodness, horrible driving. So basically, different shift, but I think it's the same car as one I already took so earlier. So if you want to look at some of these other cars, you know, want to look at a big old gallery of cop cars, just click on my channel, click on the face, and then there's a community tab. Click that community tab, and bada bing, bada boom, there's cop cars galore. All you want to see, all you can watch cop cars. My goodness, fantastic. But basically, guys, let's start out this story. And it starts out with, like I said, not the Explorer guys. They were a little bit after. But first, I started out, you know, I was going, literally, I've been out there for what? I rode an hour. About an hour into my ride of searching for law enforcement vehicles or just emergency vehicles in general, I find a slick top Crown Vic, guys. Which you will be seeing either tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. And let me tell you, if it's the day after tomorrow, that means I found a car that's better when I'm going riding tomorrow. So that's basically what it means. But if it's not tomorrow, day after tomorrow, slick top Crown Vic. And boy, oh boy, I can't wait to show you guys that slick top. And the guy, I mean, it's super rare. A, because it's a slick top. And when do you ever see slick top vehicles ever? Unless it's like a SWAT raid or something and SWAT's using it, you never see slick tops. And be a Crown Vic. The ding-dang car is 10 years old. It's a 10-year-old car, minimum. That's the minimum age. After that, it goes up, because that's when they were decommissioned. They were decommissioned in like 2011. It's 2021. 10 years old. And so, basically, I'm like, hey, my man, can I take a picture of your car? I like the car. He's like, sure, man, take the picture. Go on ahead. Let me just step out. So he steps out of the car. He lets me take the picture. And then I'm like, one more question. Are you an FTO? Now, for those of you who don't know what an FTO is, it's a field training officer. And why do I ask that question? Because I wanted to ask him this little thing. First off, he said, no, I'm not an FTO. And second off, I'm like, okay, but how did you memorize geography? Like learning streets? Because guys, if you guys don't know this, to be a police officer, to be a sheriff, to be basically any type of municipal law enforcement, you have to know the city like the back of your hand, literally. If they list off, say, this building right here, you have to be able to know that this is like 127 Main Street Avenue, 90602, and then you have to be able to drive there. From wherever you are, you have to be able to get to this exact location, or within the actual like wording is like 2 houses of it, or like 2 areas. So basically, you have to be able to get to here or to here without knowing anything. And you have to do that in the middle of the night when it's pitch black dark without using your spotlight. You can't use a spotlight, otherwise you fail the test. You have to retake it. Can you imagine that? that is hard. And I'm thinking like, man, I want to do this. When I heard that you have to be able to memorize like addresses to the T, like every single address in the city that you are basically patrolling, and some of them are in patrolling multiple cities. I'm like, seriously? Wow. So basically, I'm like, holy cow, I need to get on this right away. So I basically asked the guy, how did you memorize geography? He's like, what? I'm like, how did you memorize the addresses to get to calls and stuff? He's like, oh, he basically just used repetition where there were some problem houses. Oh my God. It's not sad. It's just, it's sad on reality and society's part, not sad on his part, where like there are certain problem houses where like he has to go there maybe like once a week or something, because there's always something going on there, whether it's domestic or something. He didn't go really, hard into that, but I know what problem houses are. Anybody who does this, you should know what a problem house is. It's basically a house that a law enforcement officer has to visit at least once a week. Doesn't have to be the same guy, but it's the same house where they're having the cops there once a week. Maybe you know somebody, or maybe you've seen, that one house on the block. The cops are there every week or something like that. So yeah, that's the problem house. So he basically used those problem houses as landmarks. And basically he memorized just repeating, like going, okay, he's like, okay, so the, where's my thing? Okay, so the Leroy Jenkins fan club, that's a problem area or a problem house. There's no real such thing as problem area. Okay, so this fan club, he goes here like once a week or once a month or something. Okay, so he memorizes, this is where Leroy Jenkins fan club is. Across the street, the convention center. And then he goes here again. Oh my gosh, they got a call again. Leroy Jenkins fan club. Okay, so Leroy Jenkins fan club. And then this thing right here. This little building, whatever this is. He's like, okay, so now he knows those two things. And then, the next week, maybe he doesn't go there. He goes like over to the hospital. Something's happening at the hospital. He's like, okay, I'm at the hospital, and across the street from the hospital, big black building. He's like, okay, big black building and hospital. Those two go together. And like little pieces of a puzzle, right? The city is the puzzle. How you learn the puzzle is up to you. But he decided like, okay, I'm going to start with like the little piece over here, little piece down here, so on and so forth. And that's how he decided to learn it. So then I go again. Like I said, I got very, very lucky today. Very lucky. Where I actually came across two cops chatting. And you're going to see the picture later today of the two explorers. Those guys are actually talking to each other. I don't know what they were talking about, so on and so forth. But I was quick. I'm like, hey, man, can I take a picture of your car? And they're like, yeah, sure. And they took the picture. And then I'm like asking one more thing. Are any of you guys FTOs? Because there's two guys. That both of them are like, no, we're not FTOs. We're not FTOs. Where they didn't repeat it. They just said, no, we're not FTOs. And so then I'm like, okay, well then what did you use to memorize geography, memorize addresses? They're like, they also said repetition. And they didn't really go into much. They just said just repetition. That was just their answer. The answer, it's and the of the little 4 A, B, C, D. What's your answer? Our answer is B, repetition. That's basically all they said. And that's basically all they did. Repetition and memorization. That's basically all they said. And so I'm like, okay, thank you. I'm not going to go pressing into these guys. These guys are, having their time, maybe it's their break time. I don't know. I'm not trying to disturb them that much. Just trying to get a picture of their car and really go. Just today I happened to have a little question about, how do you memorize the addresses? And so then, I'm writing. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's getting late. It's dark outside already. And I don't have a neon jacket, which I should totally get before I get hit by a car. And then I get one, of course, after the accident happens, then you start to get it. But I'm not having the neon vest. I'm like, all right, I'm going home. And then before I go home, I'm like, man, I should go by this station. Because there's always the one station where I haven't actually posted pictures of said station because, it's close to where I live. So I'm like, I'm going to post pictures of other stations, but not this specific one. Great, I fell out of the car. So I'm like, okay. So then I go and I'm like, oh my gosh, look, a Tahoe. I'm like, oh my God, so cool. And then there's like nobody in it. But then I see, guess who comes walking out of this station? This lady. This sounds so bad. This lady. No, it's like a lady. It's a deputy. And I'm guessing either like a sergeant or whatever, because they have the little rank symbols on their arms. And she's like hopping into this Charger. Like she's super nice. And so I'm like, oh wait, one question. I'm like signaling with my hand, like one, like, hey, like over here. And so like, she's like walking, like, look at me. I'm like, she's like walking. I'm like, hey man, I got one question. She's like, yep. And then she's like getting into her car, closes the door and like rolls down the window. I'm like, are you an FTO? Because I didn't want the picture of the car. Because like I said, I've already gotten pictures of the car. I'm like, are you an FTO? And she's like, yeah, no, I'm not. And so I'm like, okay, but then how did you memorize, it's a simple thing I keep asking. How did you memorize addresses? She's like, okay, I memorized addresses. Basically, I'm like, did you use like repetition? Because I was like talking, I didn't say the other guy said repetition, but I was just to give an example. Did you use repetition? Did you use like chunking where you memorize like the station and then you memorize the things around the station and then you keep going out, or how did you do it? And she said she memorized it kind of like I was saying. We're like, and she was super nice about it. Like the other guys, it's not that they were grumpy. They were just like, they were so short and like, they didn't really get out of my face, but it was really like, they really didn't want to talk that much. Or like, meanwhile, she's like keeping this conversation going. She's like being super nice. She's like, okay, so yeah, I started like the station. And then from there, I'm like, this block. She memorized like the whole block. Instead of the guy who like memorizes the bank and then the thing across from the bank, instead she memorizes, okay, there's a bank here, gas station, and just memorizes the whole block. And basically she starts at the police station and works her way out. That type of thing. And like, she's like, okay, so like this address is the 19. So 190 to 195 over here. And 195 to 120. So on and so forth. And that's just like how she memorized the addresses, so on and so forth. But I just wanted to say, like, I'm dumbing it down so that I'm able to, keep it nice and quick, so you guys aren't out here bored and stuff. But she was super nice when she said it. Like, she was like actually trying to help me. Like, she legitimately, like, she's acting like she legitimately was trying to help me. Like, I would have, if she became an FTO, I might want her to be the FTO because she was very nice, very kind. She's like the nice person. And she wasn't very tall. I'll say that. She wasn't very tall, so maybe that kindness is what got her the promotion. But yeah, wasn't very tall lady, but she was super nice. And that's basically all I remember. Out of all this stuff that, that happened today of me, I'm like, can I, how do you memorize addresses? Of the how do you memorize addresses day, that is what I remember the most. Is that lady being kind and like just taking the time. Like she acted like she cared. It felt like she actually cared. So yeah, guys, if you guys enjoyed this thing, make sure I'm trying to set a like goal before I continue, before we get too far into it. But let's see 102 likes. If we can get 102 likes, I'll see about another story time. Hopefully we don't get 102 likes on every video because in that case, I'll just be out of luck because I never really check the like stuff unless I actually set a goal. Then I get super hyped when you hit it. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this, make sure 102 likes. But anyway, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so great. And for the past, what was that? It was like, I don't know, like 7 o'clock or something. It's like 10:45 now. Yeah, it's almost 11 o'clock at night. So I have to be quiet again. But yeah, for the longest time, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to make a video. And then I get home, I watch the show. I'm like, no, make a video. And so now I decided finally to make a video on how nice that lady is. And in honor of her kindness as the LASD supervisor, I am rocking your Tahoe, the same model of car. May not say NYPD, it says LASD, so on and so forth. But I am rocking your car in honor of you being so kind. So I really want to thank her for that. And if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, share with all your friends. And I'll be seeing you guys tomorrow or maybe even later today with a bonus video. All right. Bye, guys.